Welcome everyone to the What's New in Splunk SOAR 6.3 Tech Talk. We'll give everyone just about a minute to join here as you're filing in, making sure everyone gets a chance to see the presentation. I still see people filing in. So again, we'll just give it about 60 seconds. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. As I mentioned, we are on the What's New in Splunk SOAR 6.3 Tech Talk. Today we'll be covering SOAR 6.3.0 and 6.3.1. They're very tightly coupled releases and a lot of feature-packed components in those releases. You're going to be very excited by the end of our presentation of everything we have going on with Splunk SOAR. Now, who are we? Well, my name is Kelby Shelton. I'm a Principal Product Manager on Splunk SOAR. And with me today, I have Nick Astor. Nick Astor, go ahead.
Yep, I'm Nick Astor. I'm a Senior Product Manager with Splunk SOAR and been with SOAR for about a little over 2 years now. And so today we have, like Kelby said, a pretty packed agenda. And so we're going to be talking about a bunch of cool features coming to SOAR and coming to our integration with ES as well. So we're going to be talking about improved prompting, navigation, performance improvements, that ES and SOAR kind of combined offering, and a bunch of exciting stuff coming to our playbook development experience. So I'll hand it back over to you, Kelby, to start kicking it off.
Thank you. So if you've attended any Splunk presentation here in the last 6 months, you may have seen this slide, but we are continuing on our vision of powering the SOC of the future with the Splunk security platform, of course, built upon the Splunk platform as a whole. At its foundation is Splunk Enterprise Security, and then above that layer is all of the components that fuel Splunk Enterprise Security, including Splunk Asset and Risk Intelligence, which we recently announced, Splunk Attack Analyzer, which has been out for a few months now. A lot of great success stories around that solution for automated threat analysis. And then today, of course, Splunk SOAR with security automation, being able to automate your triage, investigation, and response. Now, what is our vision with Splunk SOAR? Really bringing automation to the entirety of the security operations center, ensuring that it is natively integrated with Splunk Enterprise Security so that you don't have to do any context switching between the two products, and to drastically simplify the building of automation. And you'll see that today with the guided automation feature. And then ensuring that anyone in the SOC can use those automation capabilities. They can run actions, they can run playbooks. They don't have to be an expert on some of the more powerful capability of Splunk SOAR. And you'll see that in the some of the new capabilities we have around Enterprise Security 8.0. And then faster collaboration. So how do you automate interactions with people in the enterprise? Users that maybe are not in Splunk Enterprise Security or not in Splunk SOAR, how do you chat with them? How do you collaborate with them? And we'll be going over that in our section coming up. I won't spoil that too much. So speaking of, Nick, talk us through prompt-driven automation.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a prompt-driven automation, which is an exciting feature coming up, but I want to talk a little bit more about kind of the problem we're trying to solve and what we've heard from customers. And so we understand that oftentimes during security incidents or security operations, you need to interact with other users in your organization. This could be other teams like network ops, HR and legal, or sometimes, in the event of DLP or phishing, you want to interact directly with these end users. And so this is largely a very tedious process. The analyst has to go and use Slack, Teams, email, what have you, to try to engage that user they want to get information from. And that kind of removes them from their security tool and from them being able to actively work on the incident. In addition to that, it puts some mental load on that analyst where they have to wait for a response and monitor for a response, potentially like reach out to the user to try to prompt them to respond and provide the required information. And so what we found is it's an incredibly manual, tedious task that slows down MTTR and again puts that kind of larger mental load on the analyst. And so what we're aiming to do to solve this is really refine and overhaul our prompting capability within SOAR. And so what we're allowing users to do is to be able to prompt any user within your organization to try to request specific information and then leverage that within your automation. So what you can do is leverage any one of our integrations, primarily chat ops like Slack and Teams, IT ops and ticketing like Jira or ServiceNow. Or what's really great with how flexible the system is going to be is it could theoretically work with any integration, including custom integrations that you may make as well. And so having this process be entirely automated takes that load away from your analyst having to manually do those activities and allows SOAR to do it for you and automate that process. So instead of talking about it, let's go ahead and show you with a demo. So hopefully this guy pulls up here. And so if we look at this, we have a pretty basic use case here. We want to identify if a user has clicked on a phishing link or not. And if they did, we want to maybe disable their account. And if not, we want to end the automation. And so what we're going to do is add this new prompt block capability. And you'll see there's the Splunk SOAR users option, which will be similar to the traditional prompting you've seen today. But there's now this new option called Others. And so upon clicking Others, the first thing you'll notice is that we do have support for SAML. And so if you want to add authentication to these workflows, you absolutely can. And you can further limit scope by indicating which SAML group you would actually want to have authenticated. So for now, we'll continue on and we'll look at our distribution methods. So this is what allows us to interact with any integration we may have to distribute these prompts. And you can use up to 4 different distribution methods so you can have these message blasts, so to speak, to ensure you reach the audience you'd like. So in this case, we're going to do a very basic workflow, and we're going to configure an email with some information on the incident, requesting them to answer the prompt to provide some more info. So we're going to have set our from field, our to field as well. Again, these can be dynamically populated with data paths, depending again on the incident you've ingested. And we've crafted a body for our email. So again, very basic, just trying to reach out to the user and request some follow-up information. And you can see that we're able to dynamically update this body with the data path. And we see this prompt to data path option, and we have a few data paths available to us. In this instance, we're going to select the secure link, and that's what the user is going to use to be able to actually select the prompt and begin answering it. And so from here, we've already configured our distribution option. It took us a few seconds. We have the time to live at default of 30 minutes, which we're comfortable with. We're going to create a slight introduction message for when the user goes and answers the prompt. And then we're going to continue on and add some questions. Note again that we have this message parameter field. So you have quite a bit of flexibility and customization available for how you want to structure this introduction message. So we're going to ask 2 very basic questions. One is, did you click on this phishing link? Yes or no. We're going to have this as a required field, which is also a new feature that we're adding to our prompting capability. And we're going to have a non-required field saying, hey, do you have any additional comments or information you want to provide us? We'll, again, make this not required. So at this point, we've gone through and we've configured our new prompt block, and we're going to go ahead and click Done. We're going to then reconnect everything here within our playbook and make sure it's all connected. Go ahead and save it. And then once we've saved our playbook here, we're going to go ahead and attempt to run it. And so we're going to use our playbook debugger, pass in an incident ID. We see that the playbook begins to run. And as it runs, it's going to stop at a point where it requests the prompt to be answered before the playbook can continue being automated. So here we are looking at the email of what a user may see. So we have no subject because we didn't fill in that field within our action configuration, but you can see the customized text we included is there, and we see that this link is available. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to click on this link to begin entering into the prompt. Again, this can be distributed through any integration. We're going to go ahead and begin answering these fields. And some things that we want to note is that the time to live of this prompt is exposed within this prompt page, and the message and introduction message we created is exposed as well. From here, we've submitted the prompt. And then when we go back to our playbook, we can see that the playbook successfully ran, and this prompt was implemented into our automation. And so that is going to be a little bit more about external prompts. And so we have another feature that's very exciting coming up as well, if we're able to see it here. So we also have our streamlined navigation capability as well. And we'll go to the next slide here. And so we're implementing this new feature called Wayfinder. Wayfinder is meant to streamline navigation within SOAR that's really catered to the user who's logged in. So simply by pressing the period key on the keyboard, you'll see this new modal open up that pretty much prompts you with where do you want to go. And what this allows you to do is navigate to any single page within Splunk SOAR, whether it's the apps page or the playbooks page or what have you. You also can also navigate to information that's oriented towards you as the user who logged in, such as seeing what incidents do I have, what workbook tasks are still open for me, or you're able to look for metadata with specific incidents. So if I wanted to see all incidents that were critical, I could search critical here and be able to see, hey, these are all the incidents that come up with that metadata. So once again, instead of talking about it, let's go ahead and take a look. And so here within SOAR, and we can notice we're in the investigation page right now. So we're actively clicked into an incident. We can still access this Wayfinder functionality, and we can begin scrolling through the generic options that are available. So again, we can navigate to source control, system settings, and more. Here I want to look at my events, and I can see my events come up. The events as a general page comes up, or specific incidents as well. Again, for workbook tasks or operations that I need to do, those come up as well. Once again, we can jump to these other pages. So here, going from the investigation page to the connectors page happens in a single click. Or again, if I want to navigate back to that investigation, I can do so. And so what this does is, no matter what point you are within the product, you can easily navigate to many different places in a way that you can search by page, metadata, or again, tasks and playbooks and incidents that are oriented towards you as the user who's logged in. And so this is one of the features that we're really excited about coming, which is Wayfinder. So we're going to go ahead and proceed, and we're going to talk a little bit more about some exciting performance improvements, and I'm going to hand it off to Kelby to talk more about it.
Thank you, Nick. I'm personally very excited about external prompts. I have lots of planned community playbooks around using that feature. So performance improvements. How have we drastically improved Splunk SOAR's potential? Let's look at some of these numbers. So in 6.3.0 and 6.3.1, which again, we're considering these two releases in this presentation because they're so built upon what's done in one and the other improves upon it, we have three core new capabilities in the automation engine. The first is auto scaling runners in 6.3.0. So what this does is it allows you to automatically scale up or down the number of runners based on the needs of the system. These are going to be in the form of new minimum and maximum runner counts rather than just a static runner count that you may be used to if you've used the product before. And what it really means for you is that the system can rise to meet the load or burst in demand without you having to predict the demand from the beginning. And so you'll see that in 6.3.0. And then in 6.3.1, we have two additional features, increased automation throughput and what we're calling internally super dispatch. Now, these are less so knobs that you can tweak on your own, but really upgrades to the internal code base of SOAR. Together, it means playbooks, custom functions, actions, they all finish way faster than they did in prior versions. And then SOAR is able to pick up and grab work off the automation queue faster as well. So what that means for some numbers, we ran a test. So let me explain this chart on the right here. So this is in Splunk SOAR Cloud. So we ran a test. We sent a large burst of containers against 622 Cloud for around 15 minutes. And we had two playbooks with some actions and some utility blocks. And we measured the amount of time the platform took to finish individual containers and the amount of time it took to finish the overall test. What we saw was a 97% improvement in SOAR 6.3 of latency, which is the measure of the average playbook runtime, meaning event comes in, playbook runs, how long did that take? And then a 99% improvement in the overall total test runtime, which in this graph is called lag. So that means how long did SOAR take to finish, all thousands of containers ingested in that 15 minutes. So really impressive results with the automation engine upgrade. Of course, your testing on-prem in your own environments might yield different results based on your use cases, but we're really proud of some of the automation engine upgrades we were able to do in 6.3.0 and 6.3.1. Okay, so a big one, the new Enterprise Security and SOAR unified experience. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on this, talking through a lot of new features around this. So what was the situation around automating against enterprise security? Well, there's a few problems that we often find customers run into. One is losing context. So having multiple consoles, having to switch around is not ideal for wanting to respond fast. And then getting lost in SIM to Ceph conversions, it leads to delays and getting up and going, just writing a playbook, automating against your data, and finishing that work. And then collaboration. How do you message a team that's in another platform? How do you assign them work that's in another platform? How do you do handoffs? Ultimately, analysts had to keep track of activities across these consoles, and engineers needed to learn new taxonomies to build the playbooks. So if they're familiar with ES, well, now they have to learn SOAR taxonomies, artifacts, containers, things like that, just to get up and going. So let's walk through all the ways that Enterprise Security 8.0 and SOAR 6.3.0 strive to overhaul this experience and give you a much better unified TDIR solution. So the first one is analyst actions and playbooks. So it's worth noting, just as I go through these are 6.3.0 cloud features. So 6.3.0 is the first release that is compatible with Enterprise Security 8.0. We know Enterprise Security 8.0 is not generally available yet. It's currently in preview, but 6.3.0 will support ES 8.0 as soon as it is generally available. So with that disclaimer out of the way, analyst actions and playbooks allow you to be in an incident or even triage a notable, as they're called today, to be able to run playbooks and respond to that threat. You can orchestrate actions across your entire enterprise with Splunk SOAR's complete library of connectors. And as you see in the screenshot, and you'll see a moment in a demo here in a little bit, you're able to run actions directly from the ES UI. You can use SOAR prompts within that UI. You can respond to questions and answer prompts. And you can bring your SOPs out of your Confluence, your SharePoint, right into the product with step-by-step response plans that can also integrate searches and actions and playbooks as well. Now, another thing I'd like to mention as I go through this will not be a complete coverage of everything that ES 8.0 offers. We have many more webinars and tech talks and enablement on all the wonderful things that are coming with that release. This is just a sneak preview of some of the SOAR components that come with that release. The next one is an enhanced playbook development experience. So this is, we're calling this automating against your data where it lives. So playbooks you have today, once you pair up with enterprise security, will be called SOAR playbooks. They were playbooks built on containers, artifacts, etc. We have a new playbook type called enterprise security that does not mention containers, artifacts, those types of things. It allows you to get going very quickly and not having to worry about any translation between SIM to Ceph or figuring out how you're going to convert data or how you're going to forward data. You don't have to worry about any of that. You build your playbook, you make it available to your analyst, you're done. And you'll see a demo much later in our presentation of how easy it is to integrate with enterprise security and build playbooks. Next is, in all playbook types, is a enterprise security connector. Now, we've made great strides to ensure that you can automate anything an analyst can do out of the investigation UI in enterprise security, you can also do with playbooks. So we have over 35 API calls in that block that do things like add notes, update findings, update investigations, grab files, update response plans, add response plans, a whole suite of things you can do with that new connector. Now you can augment existing playbooks with ES8 functionality without having to change anything, without having to start over, anything like that. And you can use this connector to do things like automatically triage findings as they come in, close them out, leave a note, and it frees up the analyst from having to look at things that would normally take up time. Next is the automated rules framework. Now, this is a new home for allowing things to, different types of triggers to occur in the environment. And the first type of trigger that we're focusing on is triggering playbooks when a new finding occurs or a new notable occurs. So this, with a new intuitive user interface, you're able to see what detections you have and assign playbooks that should occur when those detections fire. This is better visibility and control. Rather than having to manage detections in one place, manage playbooks in another place, you can do both many-to-many relationships, as well as one-to-one relationships. So examples might be, you could have a generic enrichment playbook that should occur for 50, 100, 150 detections in your environment. And then you could have a use case where you've automated it end to end. When that occurs, people get notified, the alert gets closed out, everything is well documented, and you know exactly what you want to happen. And you can set up an automation rule to just occur one playbook on that one detection. So it supports all sorts of use cases. And then finally, how do you get all of this goodness? Looks like we missed a Splunk confidential there. So pay no mind to that. But how do you get all of this goodness with the Enterprise Security 8.0 experience? Well, again, in SOAR 6.3 Cloud, it's a process of seconds, not hours, not days, not weeks, where when you are ready, you can, and you have ES 8.0, you have SOAR 6.3 in cloud, you can come into this screen and enter a few pieces of information that will allow us to set up the initial connection. And then from there, you start writing your playbook. So once the system is paired, you go from pairing, which takes about 60 to 90 seconds, to writing a playbook and not having to worry about anything else. Additionally, on this page, you can set up all of your role mapping. So you can decide which Splunk roles should have what SOAR functionality, and fine tune that based on your organization's needs. Okay, let's do a demo of some of these components in the Enterprise Security UI and how it all comes together. Okay. Hopefully we're seeing a start investigation and some notes. Can I get a confirmation from Nick that we're all good?
We can see it.
All right, perfect. So this is a event. A suspicious PowerShell process has come in on a endpoint in the environment. And we have some information about that user. And if we scroll down, one of the things you might want to ask is, okay, if this is encoded PowerShell, an encoded command, what is the PowerShell? What is encoded in there? It would be nice for the analyst to do that research, but it would also be nice if SOAR could automatically trigger that and have that waiting for the analyst. And in fact, that's what's happened. As we scroll down, you can see that SOAR has already run several playbooks. You can see which ones succeeded, which ones failed, and you can see the actions that they ran. So if I expand that one, I can see that this added a note. So if I scroll down in my notes section, you can see that SOAR was able to discover a base64 encoded string in the PowerShell, decoded it, and it looks like a suspect URL. SOAR also additionally went out, ran an action on Splunk, and searched across the enterprise and found anyone who has been communicating with an IP address it extracted out of that URL. And so it also ran a search for any URLs matching that format. And this was a table of the information that it was able to discover. It found these users had been communicating with that URL. So from here, I might want to investigate further. So I can easily start an investigation, which will go into the new investigation experience. And I can go to the automation tab, and I can see all of those playbooks that occurred in this investigation. And I can also run actions to respond to this threat. So, maybe I want to respond to that IP address. I want to block that URL from anyone else communicating out to it. So I can come into here, run action, and select one of my actions I have on my system, Zscaler. I'll select block URL, and I didn't copy the URL, but I'll just do an example here of that IP address. I don't remember what it was, but I can block that URL, run action, and you can see that will be kicked off user-initiated block URL. So in a moment, I'll know, yep, that was successful. It has been blocked on the enterprise. And now I have an accounting, an activity trail, an audit of that activity that the analyst occurred. And of course, that is backed by SOAR's role-based access controls. You can ensure that only some analysts have that capability, others do not. Additionally, in this experience, let's talk about running playbooks. So I mentioned I can run playbooks. You can see that show up on the screen, all of the playbooks I have available to me. And I can do things like answer prompts, which you might be familiar with if you've ever used SOAR. And we brought over that experience. So you'll notice that the prompt icon has lit up, and I've got a pending prompt to respond to this event. So I'll go ahead, reset the user's password in this example, and hit submit, and that will get kicked off and reset the user's password. Again, this is just a taste of all of the capabilities. There'll be additional demos, additional presentations about what ES8 offers. We just want to give you a taste of what's available. The next thing I'd like to walk you through is the automation rules. So underneath the configure section, you'll see Splunk SOAR. And I've got this new pairing page, which you saw me saw in the screenshot. And I also have a new section called automation rules. And I've got a few automation rules set up, one for risk findings and another one for malicious PowerShell. So in the bottom example, I've got 2 detections. If they ever trigger anything, I want this playbook to launch. And in the top one, if this malicious PowerShell ever occurs, I want this encoded PowerShell, the special playbook I built, to fire off on that use case. And if I add additional playbooks or additional use cases, it's very easy to set up automation rules or edit ones I already have. So I can come in here, add one or more detections based on all the detections I have on my system. And I can add additional playbooks that should occur however I would like with my automation rule. So it's a very easy system to set up and get up and going. Okay, in a minute, we'll do a demonstration of, on the playbook side, playbook author and how you might automate against this data. But let's return to our presentation here.
Kelby, it looks like there may have been a few issues with the screen share. I don't know if we were able to actually review the demo. Unfortunately, we're telling you at the very end. Do you want to try resharing your screen one more time to see if that's going to maybe resolve the issue? And we can maybe
do we know when it cut out?
It looked like it cut out towards the beginning.
Towards the beginning. Fantastic. Okay.
Let's give it just one more shot and see if we can get that screen share to work. And if not, we can move on in the presentation.
All right. Is any of this?
Now we're seeing it. Now we're moving. Yep.
Okay, cool. Do apologize for that. So just running through again, a little bit quicker this time. So we have a malicious PowerShell event. Let me find one that had some automation occur. Okay, so we have a list of playbooks that ran, ones that were successful, ones that were failing. And we have some notes left by SOAR. If we scroll down to the bottom, we can see that SOAR found a decoded power string, found a string in the encoded PowerShell. Turns out it was a URL, and it went ahead and did some searches in Splunk Enterprise and found additional results. If we start an investigation, which I did earlier, so I'll go to view details. And in the automation tab, you can see the record of all of the events that, all of the automation that occurred. Earlier, I ran a block URL action. So I'll go ahead and copy that URL and just do it one more time. So I'll run action. So this is the URL that the user, that SOAR decoded, and now the analyst wants to block it. So I'll come in here and select Zscaler, select block URL, and I'll post that URL in the actions there. So SOAR will go ahead and run and use one of our connectors and orchestrate out to Zscaler to block that URL. In your enterprise, insert connector here. We have over 300 available. And then from an automation perspective, when I go to run a playbook, I can select run playbook, and I can use any of the playbooks available to this analyst, and I can select reset user password as an example, which will use the prompt system of SOAR. And again, it's showing up in the ESUI. I don't have to leave Enterprise Security to answer this prompt. And I can say, yes, I do indeed want to reset the user's password. This is just an example, but you can imagine a bunch of formatted information. And another analyst, senior analyst is working another event. They get prompted and they're like, oh, what's this? And they get a full report about the information and whether they want to proceed. Okay, and the final thing I showed was under configure Splunk SOAR. We have the pairing page and we have the automation rules. And the automation rules are where you're able to set up the mappings between detections and playbooks. You can add new ones, and you can easily edit ones you've already created. So I can come in here and say, hey, I'd like to add an additional detection that's relevant to this playbook. select that detection, and hit add. And I've modified this to work. And so the next time around, a new notable comes in, this automation rule will fire. Okay, I think we all got that this time. Hopefully.
I think we did.
All right. Thank you all for being so patient. Okay, so let's move on to intuitive playbook development. This is one of the most exciting features I have. I've been around SOAR a very long time. This is one of the most exciting features I've been able to be a part of. So Nick, let's walk through initially what this is about, and then we'll fire up a demo here in a minute.
Absolutely, yeah. So we talked to hundreds of customers throughout our roadmap calls and dozens of customers specifically about how to optimize the playbook development experience. And really what we're aiming to do is try to make playbook development much easier while retaining the flexibility and functionality that the VPE has. And so what we're able to identify is that we can definitely optimize the process of working with data. So while data paths are definitely valuable and allow you to reference abstract data that may exist depending on what type of incident gets ingested, we wanted to make a way to showcase what data actually might be available. And when you're running your playbook, viewing the real data. And so if we go in to look at exactly what we're trying to do, we want playbook automation or playbook development to be easier, faster, and more accurate. And so how we want it to be easy is that instead of having to go and jump from the VPE to your investigation, review artifacts and specific fields you may want to reference, you will now be able to specify a container within the VPE and be able to view all real artifacts associated with that specified container. From there, you can look at the data available and easily copy and paste data paths with one click, or depending on the data type, run something that we call contextual actions. So let's say you have an IP address that's one of your artifacts. You could select that and view all relevant actions that work for that IP address, whether it's looking up IP, geolocate, or what have you. And upon using one of those contextual actions, you'll see that block be added to the canvas, already configured for you. And so within 2 or 3 clicks, you can now be adding working blocks to your playbook. And this goes a step further, that once you start adding blocks to the playbook, you can now view the real outputs associated with those blocks. So upon running the playbook, you doing a URL reputation, let's say, you'd be able to view the actual data that came from performing that URL reputation. And so when you're building your playbook, you have confidence that the data you're referencing is 1, the correct data, 2, it's formatted correctly, and 3, when you're passing that into the next block, you know exactly you're passing in the correct thing. And you can also say goodbye to overuse of the debug utility block, or again, running to your investigation to see what was that full dump of an action run. You can again have confidence entirely within the VP of what data you may or may not be working with. So this is a feature that we're incredibly excited about. And we also see it as the foundation for many more improvements that we plan on bringing to the VP to make that playbook development experience that much easier. So again, enough talking about it. Let's hand it over to Kelby and let's see this thing in action.
All right, no pressure. So let me return and I'll select an alternate screen sharing method, which seemed to work for second time around. Okay. Not quite loaded on my side. Okay, it loaded there. All right, so we have a demo phishing incident ingested from SOAR. This is a phishing email ingested from SOAR, and you have some artifacts. Now, typically, what you would need to do is you would need to have this screen open. You would open up a new tab with your playbook, and you begin comparing values and bouncing between the tabs to do that. Again, as Nick said, not anymore. So I'm going to return to the playbook screen. I'm going to leave this screen behind. I'm actually going to close out that screen. I'm going to open up a new playbook. I don't even want the temptation. I've been using SOAR a long time. I don't even want the temptation to have that tab open. So I'm going to select the SOAR type playbook here. And under search by container ID or name, you notice actually, so for starters, you'll notice I have a new section here called the data preview. This is an expandable, collapsible screen that has the debugger, has the Python editor. And again, this is all expandable and collapsible. And we've also added word wrap. So if you love word wrap, that works as well. So getting into this use case, I want to build a playbook. I want to get some reputation information on this URL, and maybe I want to block it. So I'll start by finding that container name. I think it was demo phishing incident. Oh, there it is, demo phishing incident. So it's been loaded, and you can see that start block is now populated. So I'll click into the start block, and it will show me all of the data that's available for me to automate against. So I've got my file hash, and if I forget what I'm looking for, so say, oh, what was that field? I was looking for an artifact. Oh yeah, SL punk. Oh, there it is, right there. There's that artifact. And I've got a new copy button on that artifact, which will actually copy the data path for me to use. So I don't have to guess what data will make this playbook successful. That will copy the data path. We'll also have quick actions on known data types for all the real data. So this is just an early look. The quick actions is not on the real data in this build, but it will be in the final build. So let me show you what the quick actions allows you to do. So if I go into sample data, the sample data view, now this would just be like, if I started from scratch, I didn't know what my values were, and I wanted to see all possible data paths. I can come down here and find request URL. And you'll notice that 3-dot menu, which I didn't have on the other screen. I can click investigate, similar to the analyst experience, but I can click investigate and select, oh, you know what? I want to do URL reputation on this. I'll click that, and I'm ready to go. It added the action, it added the data path in the URL field, and this block is already configured, and I'm done with adding my first block. And as I look at this block, and I can see, okay, cool. What are some of the sample values? I want to do something potentially with the output of that. Maybe I want to block a URL. So I'll show you one more time. Run action. I'll do contain, and I'll do block URL. Again, already done. It's added the output of URL reputation to the inputs of this block, and it's already configured. And I've already built my playbook in much faster time than I've ever done it before. Let's show also when you go to run an action. So I'm going to configure, I want to take this data path. I'm going to configure something slightly different. Let's do virus total. I'm going to eliminate that. And I want to test this. And I want to see, okay, what would be the outputs if I wanted to make a decision, for instance? So I'm going to hit save and run. It's going to let me know, hey, you need to fill out some information. So this is my test playbook, and it operates on phishing. I'll just make it operate on all events. Okay, now that that's done, out of the way, all right, it is now running, and the playbook was created. And the debugger, if I go to the debugger tab, you'll notice it ran all the code for this playbook. So if I return to block results, I actually have a little check mark next to this action. That's because it ran successfully. And now I have results to look at. So I'll click into that action. And instead of seeing that green text of a sample run, now I've got this purple text, because this is actually the real output of that action that I ran on my playbook. So I can see all of the results, all of the data paths. I can hit copy on any of these and use it in a downstream block. Or I could just review the data and say, hey, what's a good fit for determining if this is malicious, for example. And the arrow will allow me to bounce through all of the options. And I can see, hey, there's a summary field called malicious. That's a good fit. So I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to do a decision block. And I'm going to paste that value in there. And I'll mouse over that and show, yep, there's the data path. So I didn't need to bounce into another view to look at the data. The playbook shows me everything I need to build the playbook and add blocks onto the canvas based on those data paths. We will support, for this initial release, we'll have action blocks, playbook blocks, and the enterprise security block. We'll all show you their inputs, their outputs, and the real data when you run them. Now, speaking of enterprise security, let's show a quick demo of how this relates to enterprise security. You saw me put in a container. What about data in enterprise security? How do I automate against that? So let me return to an event I had open here. So in enterprise security. So this is a test finding that I had created with some sample data in enterprise security. And I would like to automate against this. Well, what did that mean in prior worlds? Well, that meant I needed to set up a forwarding rule. I needed to map the fields over. I needed to do a bunch of work before I even start automating. Not with this. I copy the reference ID. So give that a copy, or you can use the handy copy button. And I'll return to SOAR, and I'll start a new playbook. This time I'll select Enterprise Security. And instead of a container ID, I'll put in that reference ID. And look, it found my test finding. And you'll notice the start block is now populated. And same as before, I've got all of that data available for me to now automate in enterprise security. So I can build a playbook based on any of the values in here. You've got the raw fields, you've got that destination field as well. So say I would like to do an action on that. So I'll drag an action onto the canvas, and I will select Windows Defender as an example. I'll get installed software, and I'll paste that value in there. So from there, maybe I want to add a note to this investigation, this finding whenever this playbook runs. And I want to get some information about the installed software. So I'm going to add Enterprise Security API block. And I'm going to select Add Finding or Investigation Note. Now, I could bounce up to the start block to find the ID, but we've also data typed all of the inputs and outputs to work with the data path picker as it is in SOAR today. So you'll see, I'll click into that, and the data path picker is still there for those more comfortable with it. So I'll select ID for the finding ID, give it a title, and for the formatted input, I want to fill out a dynamic table of installed software. So this is my installed software. And, say I want a application name, application vendor. I'll give it a couple columns, and I'll put my values in here. So I can look at the outputs of get installed software, and I'll show one more feature with this. I feel like we've shown so many with this new feature, but you can pin the outputs, the block output, which will allow you to keep this up for use cases exactly like this. I want to configure this downstream block, and I want to keep this here while I review the outputs of this and say, okay, cool, I would like the name, so I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it right in there. And then say I would like another variable and I want that vendor. So I'll keep that vendor right there and I'll paste it as well. So now I have a working playbook, which will get the installed software for that, that device ID, add a finding or investigation note. Let's give this a save. And let's go ahead and run that. And while that's running, all right, it finished successfully. Let's return one last time to Enterprise Security. And let's see what that, see if I've got that note. Oh, sure enough, I've got a note with my applications that are there and the vendors they're attached to. I can clean up the formatting a little bit and rerun the playbook and play around with it. But I did not fiddle with any forwarding rules. I did not set up any translations. I went from having an idea in my head to seeing that idea realized, and now this playbook can be made available to anyone in my enterprise in minutes or seconds, really. So this is yet another way ES and SOAR come together with the power of data preview as well to make automating easier than it's ever been. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing on that. Okay, well, let's launch a poll here and answer what is the most exciting feature that we covered today. We covered prompt-driven automation. We covered streamlined navigation with Wayfinder. We covered performance improvements. We just covered just a sneak peek of all things ES 8.0. And finally, we covered intuitive playbook development with the new data preview. And while that goes, I'll answer a question live. Peter had a question. Will you be able to use this on existing playbooks or only when starting a new playbook from scratch? You can use it with any existing playbooks. It'll be there for all playbooks. Input, SOAR, aka automation, ES, all of your existing playbooks, you can begin using this feature. So it actually really helps if you need to go back, open up a playbook and see, okay, do I want to improve it? Do I want to edit it? Do I want to, is it failing? And you can see the results of that playbook within the data preview. Okay, we're coming up on time. I'll go ahead. We've gotten 54% voted. Let's see the results. Intuitive playbook development. I thought it might be as amazing as Enterprise Security 8.0 is. We've got a heavy SOAR audience here today, naturally, and they love data preview. So I love it as well. I cannot wait to start building playbooks using this feature. Another question, is Splunk SOAR 6.3x going to be released on premises? Yes, it will. So 6.3.0, look out for that for very soon. 6.3.1 is going to be a fast follow. We expect that to come out in the very near future, which is why we're covering them together today. And then ES 8.0, again, is 6.3.0 cloud only. So that feature set is cloud only. Everything else you saw today is cloud and on-prem. Okay, now I see some questions. People are fired up. Nick, what are some of our takeaways and what's next for the group?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Kelby kind of just went over, and as we've seen, we have our unified TDI offering coming up, which kind of redefines how SOAR and ES work together, really streamlining workflows and connecting SOAR and ES, leveraging playbooks, and having your analyst work within them much easier. We have simplified automation. So as you saw with external prompts, or user prompt-driven automation and guided automation, you'll see, playbook creation is much easier, and you have new use cases that will be unlocked. And with those new use cases, we're also adding improved performance. So continue to use those prompts, continue to build those playbooks, and continue to make that automation. And we're continuing to scale SOAR so that it can support that. If we jump to the next slide here, we are going to be having a more dedicated Q&A for 6.3. So we really invite you to go ahead and submit any questions you may have so that we can prep and make sure that they're answered in our October 9th QA webinar. So that's something that's going to be exciting coming up, and we'll go into more nitty-gritty detail on any questions our users may have. And then some additional resources. We have the release notes coming up for 6.3, which will, again, dive into more detail. There's a whole blog post that goes into more detail about everything we just talked about. Again, simplified automation, that experience with ES and SOAR, and more. So highly encourage you to check out that blog. We do have a great community Slack channel as well. So if you are not within the Splunk user groups Slack workspace just yet, we highly encourage you to join it. There is a hashtag SOAR and SOAR content channel where not only do we have...
It is SOAR dash content. So we missed that dash, but yes. So hashtag SOAR dash content are the two channels you should be in if you're not in already. You'll often find myself and Nick lingering around there and answering questions for folks, as well as many other helpful members of the community.
Yeah. And then again, continue the conversation on community.splunk.com. So we have office hours, we have Splunk Answers, we have discussions, and we have idea posts. So idea posts is one that I kind of want to highlight, and it's a big focus for us to make sure that our roadmap is really catered to what our customers are looking for. So please, if you have any feature requests or ideas, we would love to chat with you about them. But we also highly encourage you to make use of that ideas portal, which we're kind of actively reviewing and implementing into our roadmap. Kelby, any other items you wanted to add to this slide?
No, I just want to call out, again, you all probably have loads of questions on everything that's going on. So again, sign up for that webinar, October 9th. We're going to be deep diving into all aspects, answering all of your burning questions about these features, ES 8.0, SOAR 6.3X, and that is the place for us to nerd out over some of these new features. And so myself, I'll be leading that and highly encourage you to attend that. And then another thing I'd like to call out, you may have seen a increase in the number of ideas that are getting updated, number of ideas that are showing up in releases. So again, please keep submitting your ideas, keep them coming, and our product management group looks at those all the time, and we're always discussing the best ones, and we'll even maybe reach back out to you for more information about that idea. So thank you so much for all of your submissions.
Thank you so much, everybody.